Like to call the committee of the whole to order at 5:30, still on time, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present from Lansing, Michigan, participating remotely.
Councilmember Hussein.
Present, participating remotely from Lansing, Michigan.
Councilmember Wood.
Present, participating remotely from Lansing, Michigan.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Present, participating remotely from Lansing, Michigan.
Councilmember Betts.
Present, participating remotely from Lansing, Michigan.
Councilmember Garza.
Present, participating remotely from South Lansing.
Councilmember Jackson.
Present, participating remotely from the Lansing, Michigan.
And Councilmember Dunbar.
Present, participating, I'll say it too, South Lansing.
I was gonna say everybody but Carol and Councilmember Betts and Wood are in south of the river right now. Okay, folks, I wanted to just, if you could, before we move to the minutes, I wanted to if there's public comment folks here that wanted to say something. I have asked Susan Kenkro from Advent House to just share a few moments with us about the situation on the back 40 and homeless services in the city right now. Advent House is one of our premier providers of services to the homeless in our community. So I asked her to just speak a little bit because I know that I've seen some emails going and also some Facebook commentary from council members that were very interested in this topic. So I asked her to be here. And Ms. Kenkro, thank you for being here. We're going to get through our public comment and our minutes, and then we'll get on to our discussion items. But I wanted to make sure there was no objection from council to me doing this. Is there anybody from council who does not want us? Okay. So thank you, Ms. Kenkro. We'll be with you in just a few minutes, but we'll get a few.
I'll mute and then I'll wait for you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Mr. Vice President, we need a motion on the minutes.
Sure, I would move the January 4th meeting minutes as presented.
All right, the motion has been properly made. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, if the clerk would please call the roll.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Yes.
Councilmember Betts.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
All right. So what is the preference of the council? Should we plow through our business and then speak to Ms. Kenkro, or would you like, okay. Ms. Kenkro, since out of respect for your time, why don't we let you go first? And then we can get you on your way and move on with council business, the rest of the council business.
Okay, thank you. Those of you who've known me a long time might not want me to speak first. That could take a minute, sorry.
I have a mute button, so.
That's true, you have the mute button, that's true. Okay, the reason I'm here today, and thank you very much for having me. I am a Lansing resident. I live very close to where Advent House is, which is right by St. Lawrence Hospital, the old St. Lawrence anyway. And I've been a resident here in Lansing for almost 40 years. And so of those years, 26 of them in Advent House. Now, of those years, we've had for the last 3 a street outreach program. And I wanted to make sure you all knew about that and that we are doing it. It's not a solution to everything, but it is something that's helped. And recently we worked with trying to address the issues and needs of those living in the back 40, which is one area of encampment in the city. But let me quickly just go over the outreach. The outreach is actually a tri-county effort. We do this in partnership with Housing Services Mid-Michigan. And we address the issue of street homelessness, which is homelessness in a place not meant for human habitation, whatever that might be. So it could be a barn, it could be a field, it could be a lot, it could be somebody's vehicle, whatever that is. And we also do that in the Tri-County area. Now, the majority of folks who are experiencing street homelessness are in Ingham County and in the Lansing area because it's the central urban spot for this area. Of the whole Tri-County area. What we're seeing with COVID is more and more people outside trying to live in all 3 counties. So we're seeing more of those who are in suburban or rural settings now going out, not in a home, and trying to survive. This is not good. Luckily, we've done some very good things here in Lansing because this is the center of shelter to make sure that people can find a place to be that's safe from the elements. And that's probably the biggest issue, especially right now in Michigan. As you know, the weather can change dramatically. And I'm sure all of you remember the polar vortex. That wasn't that long ago. It was horrendous. And I will tell you that we did not lose one person who was homeless at that time. Thank God. And we did that because we got information to people and we went and found people. We knew where they were and we brought them inside. I mean, now we brought them inside because they wanted to go. And that's another thing I've got to get to. And that's that we do not do anything that someone does not want to do. We're not there to force anyone to do anything against their will. What we're trying to do is make sure that people know how to choose safely and have choices because they know what's out there. So if they're not choosing shelter for a reason and we can address that reason, we do. Even if it means advocating between that person and a shelter, for example, to make sure their experience, maybe the second or fifth time around, is more successful than the past. Recently, and this has happened too, we moved 3 people from the street into their own apartment. And that was amazing. The first year we did this program, which was 3 years ago, we engaged 122 people that first year. Of that group, 88 of them became housed. So that's good. And I want you to say, I can pat myself on the back, say we did a great job. We did a good job. But I can tell you, it's a testament to the courage of those people to change something dramatically in their life. And we recognize it's a big change for them and it's very difficult. What you've seen in the back 40 are people who are struggling to decide, do I want to make a change or not? And sometimes the answer is no. And I will tell you that the one side that did clear out, with people chose to go, we took a couple of them to another encampment and we helped them to move. In another case, a woman wanted to move to stay with a friend. We rented a U-Haul, we packed it up and we brought her things to her friend's house. And I have a storage unit rented now. And we can take people's things and we will put them away and we will guard them closely and make sure they can get them back when they're ready. That's what we try to do with our programs. We always try to meet the needs of the people we serve, and those are the people on the street, to the best of our ability. So I want you also to know we go out every day, even on weekends. So people are getting help. They may not want that help. It may not be exactly what they had in mind, but we've been there every day for 3 years. So if someone says no one's trying to help me, that's not true. Did it help them? Maybe not. That may be true. But is someone trying to help them? Yes. And we're doing this with state funding. We're also doing it with support from this city. We're also doing it with support from the city of East Lansing. And it looks like we may be getting some support from other sources within the city because I think this has worked very well. We've also worked with businesses to help them, in every case, trying to be compassionate about people who may be in and around their business and not engaging properly or appropriately, but needing help. And the business person not wanting to come down hard on that person, wanting to help them, but trying to also run their business. They've engaged us, we've come in, we've helped that person. We've worked with the business too to be helpful. When we've been able to do that, that's worked very well. So it's not just about the person on the street, it's about our whole community. So I'm giving you a broad brush here, but we've got 4 main staff. We'll probably actually are going to be bringing in a couple more part-time staff, and we may be getting more depending on the funding that's coming in, but it's working very well for what we're able to do. So I'd like to answer questions. I did hear that some people thought there was nothing out there, and I'm just going to tell you, it's not true. If you want to know what it is, you can ask me, and I'll be happy to tell you. What we do is not perfect, it's not everything, but we are working very hard. And the people who take this service are working harder than we are. And those are the folks we serve. So I don't want to take anything away from them. When they get there because of their energy and their determination. We are the environment and the tools they use to get there. So do I have any questions?
It looks like we have at least one member who has some questions, Susan.
Sure.
Thank you very much for being here. Councilmember Jackson, your floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. First, what can people do to help if an individual wants to help? And also, since we're talking about the back 40, I guess, what do you think as a, I would say, expert in the field, especially in the Lansing area, what do you think about how it transpired? And if there's another situation like that again, what would you suggest that the city do?
Okay. First question, how can people help? People are helping us by donating. I know there are lots of folks out there, specifically churches and religious groups, because they're organized groups of people, have been terrifically helpful. And people have made sandwiches for us to bring out to people. That's been so helpful. You have no idea. They've written notes in there, I mean, making it personal. That's very, very nice. But also just having a little homemade meal in a sack that you can keep when you're outside, that's been helpful to people. They're able to at least get some food in them. We also had people who donated blankets, who donated new socks, gloves, hand warmers. And I'm telling you the things people need if they choose to stay outside. Our first duty is safety. How can we help you be safe and out here? So we have brought out those things to people that they need in order to be to not get sick, hopefully not become cold or wet or whatever that would make them just sick in general, never mind COVID. We're also testing people when we go out. We do have infrared thermometers and that kind of thing. But any of those items are helpful. Water, we carry water and Gatorade with us when we go out. We also go out with the street medicine team from MSU on a weekly basis, and actually some other doctors from the area. And we've given people some medical attention that was appropriate right there on the street and help them to then get into doctor's appointments and hopefully move in the direction of healing from wherever they are. So I'm trying to think what else. I mean, those kinds of things are helpful. Boots, or, honestly, funding helps us for something like that. I mean, anybody, you're not going to put a pair of boots on you that don't fit you. That's not going to help you. It's going to hurt you. So we've actually gotten people shoes and boots that fit them. There's also, of course, Geronimo, who does a wonderful job with Footprints, trying to help people to get shoes. But again, whatever we can do to help that person have some dignity and feel better, and then go to the next step. So any of those items are helpful. Sometimes coats, we have had coats donated that are in good shape. That's always helpful. Trying to think what else, that kind of thing. Basically trying to keep people warm and dry, so that, again, they don't become sick. Oh, and then the other questions were the back 40, right? Okay, the back 40 is an encampment, obviously. Like I said, when we took somebody from there to another place, it was another place to camp, but it was a place that was a little more secluded. They were not with a lot of other people. It seems to work better for any of us when we try to do something alternative in our living situation if we're not living with a heck of a lot of people. If you have a few people, you can make that relationship work. You start multiplying people, it gets difficult. I grew up in a family of 6 children. It was not, we had our moments. I'm surprised our house remained in one piece, okay, because it is what it is. When you bring a lot of people together, you have a lot of potential conflict. It's easier for people to navigate those social relationships in smaller groups. So we're finding that when people choose an encampment, if they choose a smaller group where they can establish a small community, emotionally that's healthier and safer. Again, our first choice wouldn't be for someone to be living outside, my first choice, but their first choice might be that. And if it is, we're going to try to make that as safe as possible. So as far as the back 40, I think it had become very crowded. There were a lot of people out there. They weren't all living out there. Right now, there's many fewer, and that's probably more livable, more pleasant in some ways for those who are still there. but I would suggest just working with people like we do, just join us in working with people to figure out what's the best next step, to get to either shelter or to get to housing, which would be the best, the safest, hopefully, for each person to have their own place. Does that make sense? There's no magic answer here. Human beings are human beings. Everybody's different. And you have to just say, how do I meet you where you are? But if
Thank
we're
you.
trying to, if we're trying to be safe, how do we do? And I will say one other thing. Now, COVID, the CDC's guidance on keeping people outside, if that's where they needed to be, being safer, at least at the outset of COVID, was valid. The problem right now, like I said to another reporter, I said, when you're looking at safety, you got to balance what's out there. COVID is one thing. A Michigan winter is another thing. At what point does it become more dangerous to be outside than it does to be with a group of people? And we have to figure out what that is and help a person who's in the situation to make a determination of what is the best next move for my own safety. And if I decide to stay outside, then at some point that's going to be my decision. But I got to make sure my job running this program is to make sure that that person has all the information they need to make a good decision. If I don't do that, then I'm not doing my job. They need to decide. My job is to make sure they have all the information they possibly can have.
Thank you. Councilmember Jackson, thank you much. Next up on the list is Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, President Spatafor.
Yes.
And thank you for being here tonight, Susan, and for
Sure.
all that you do for our community. It's much appreciated. And speaking of the information you're sharing, I just wanted to hopefully you'd be able to share this with everybody that's viewing this. Do you have an address or an email, like the way you would prefer to donate, since we are in the middle of a pandemic? Is there a drop-off location for people
Sure.
to clothes and items like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, people can drop off any items right to our office. I have a few staff who are here. We're in a big church, so we're kind of in different places. We're not on top of each other, but they can ring the bell and we'll come up and take that from them. We minimize contact. We all wear masks, if we're here, and we ask that of those who drop things off. And then we can simply accept that from them. And then if they let us know who they are, we can send them a donation receipt. But they can drop those things right at the door. And it's we're at 743 North Martin Luther King in the church on the corner of Oakland and Martin Luther King. It's North Westminster Presbyterian. And they can just come to that door on the south side of the church, and we'd be happy to help them. If they want to call first, we'll have somebody come up there and have, help them with whatever it is that they have to drop off if they need that.
Thank you. What's the phone number there, Susan?
517-485-4722.
And with sorry guys, I'm being a little long-winded, but with the monetary donations, do you guys accept like Apple Pay, PayPal, checks, cash? What's your method you prefer?
Our website is adventhouse.com. Pretty easy, right? At adventhouse.com. There's a donate link if they want to go through PayPal. People send us checks to the address, or sometimes they'll call in a credit card. If they do that, then there's no fee. I mean, there's a fee to us if it goes through PayPal. It's not very much. But whatever is easy, all of that goes to the people we serve. Our admin, I think, is like 11% or something, and it's pretty. I know that if you know about that, that's very low. I mean, basically, I do a lot of the work myself, so it's a little crazy. Not the outreach though. My outreach staff, they're amazing. They do that. I mean, I've gone out with them occasionally, but they're phenomenal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember Garza. Councilmember Spitzley, you're next on this list.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Susan, thank you for coming and giving us an update. I really thank you for what you do and what you do for the community. I was really pleased to hear you just say that folks weren't being forcibly removed from the location. I think it's important. You know, I agree with you. I mean, you know, if they decide to stay, there's not a whole lot you can do. You worry about it, but at the end of the day, you know, forcibly removing somebody is really not the way. And we've been hearing reports that some folks have been forcibly removed and that their belongings have been taken against their will and disposed of. So I'm glad that you clarified that. What is the relationship with Advent House and our HRCS staff? What kind of support are they giving you guys?
Oh, well, you know, thank you, Councilmember Spitzley. I appreciate the question. The HRCS, you know, because I've been here for 26 years, I've been through, I don't know, maybe 10 directors. You know, that when you start watching people come and go because they, you know, go along with things. And it's always been good. We've had a very good relationship with HRCS, and they, right now, with a lot of the money we get, not all of it, but like the HUD money, that all goes through the city. You all as the city council are supporting that by allowing that to occur, and it does help. So the money for the PATH program is not that HUD money. It's partly, well, some of it's MISTA. We have some MISTA funding, and we have that money through East Lansing, and then some private funding, and so that, but HRCS as a whole manages those grants for us. You know, I'm also the chair of the continuum, so I watch it for this going on for other agencies as well. And we have a good relationship. I mean, when we have a hiccup, we talk it through. We get frustrated with each other, everybody does, and we do our reports. We try to make sure everything's up to date. And Katrina Urista and Tony Young, who've been amazing over the years. And then Kim, is new to this and is getting her mind around a lot of details. It's crazy. I mean, when you live with it every day, you don't realize how complicated it gets. You know, and then the acronyms will kill you, but that's another story. You know, speaking code.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Councilmember Spitzley, are you all set? Thumbs up? If
Yeah,
you're good?
I'm all set. I just wanted to make sure, yeah, and I knew that we were, but I just wanted to make sure that we were engaged in helping you deal with things, and that, you know, we were providing you with the support you know, that we needed to. And I was also, again, I appreciate the fact that no one has been forcibly removed, nor have their belongings been removed without their consent. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that information.
And I just want to be fair too. I think when they went out this last time to help move people, some things were taken accidentally. And that was really unfortunate. That's not good, you know, but it's so hard in an environment where things are not, you know, there's not a place for things, you know, when you're out in the field. So how do you look at that and say, what should I pick up and what shouldn't I pick up? And I think that the staff from the city were trying to clear it. We're doing the best they could. You know, it's not, but that's not good. You know, it's an awkward situation. I'm not going to sit here and say that this is easy or great. It's hard. And people are trying to live that way. And that, you know, the chance that you're going to have something that's unfortunate happen is very high. So you do the best you can. I mean, that's all we can do.
I hope that you know, we've got our deputy mayor on the line. I hope that then we are working with those residents who had their belongings taken to try to see what we can do to make things right. Again, you know, if they're choosing, you know, to stay there, you know, of their own free will, we can't be taking their belongings. And so we need to make that right. If folks have, by accident, I'm not accusing anybody, by accident, if someone had their belongings taken, we need to make that right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Spitzley. We have two other hands up, and then in the interest of a few other things on the agenda, I'd like to move on unless there's something pressing, but we'll talk with Councilmember Dunbar, then Councilmember Betts, you're last on the list.
Thank you. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Kathy. How are you?
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
I am currently, my nonprofit and many others in town are working with the Lansing area free stands, and we have a delivery system in place. Not me, but the group does. And I'm wondering about the food needs of folks in these camps and are they cooking? Do they need pop-top cans and a lot of self-serve, individually packaged foods? One of the things we try to do at the pantry is to have a lot of can openers and packets of silverware and stuff for folks and wet wipes and things. Like if we were to put these, and we can talk about the locations, you and I, offline, but if we were to make food deliveries, what is their capacity to prepare out there? Are they, just tell me what you think that would be the best donations in that regard.
I think overall, when I think of these encampments, some of them are so minimal. It's a guy, he's under a bridge and he's got a tarp over himself, but that's where he wants to be. And, I think what we're bringing out to somebody in that situation is maybe a pop-top thing that he can eat something. It may not be warm, but he's eating something that's edible out of that can. So he's getting some nutrition in him. And, so if you had those kinds of, actually, if you had that kind of thing, that'd be great. Because I know my staff, when we get stuff like that donated, it's like, yes, this is going to go in the truck and we're going to bring this out in our next round, to people. But yeah, it'd be great to be able to collect things like that. And even sometimes when folks move from the street into an apartment, they haven't been cooking for themselves. We had a guy, we just went into the apartment. He's like, well, I don't really cook. I don't really know what to do. So we've been bringing him things he can just eat like he would when he was on the street. That's where he's ready to go. He needs to take what he knew there, bring it into this new place, and then develop the skills, hopefully over time to do other things. But you got to go, go with people where they are, So,
well, how about offline? I will get with you because we have a whole network that picks up food that's donated by Capital City Market downtown.
Sure.
And that picks up from the free meal sites, and it's bagged, ready to eat foods. And I'm sure that we could work that into the distribution system.
That would be fabulous, because then people don't feel like they have to go. I also don't want to get to the point where they feel like they have to go take it. You know what I mean? Because they don't, that's the only option they have. It's like, no, you can't go there.
Yeah.
So we got to give them the stuff so they can have some dignity and go to the next step.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Dunbar. Councilmember Betts, you are the last one on the list here.
Thank you, President Spatafor. Thank you, Susan, for being here. I was in Back 40 a couple weeks ago having a conversation with some of the residents there. And it sounds like a lot of them, of course, didn't want to live in congregated living facilities due to the fact that there might be COVID. We've all had this conversation with people like this before. One thing that was brought up to me, however, was that a few of the residents of the Back 40 had Section 8 vouchers, but they said when they were trying to go through the lists provided by, I don't remember if it was Advent House or Holy Cross, that a lot of the phone numbers on that list were either disconnected, incorrect numbers, or otherwise they were unable to reach anybody or get contact with things like that. What process do you have to update those lists? Do you check on the regular? What's kind of going on with that? And additionally, if a person who is homeless is having these problems reaching out to find a place to use their Section 8 voucher, what services do you provide and how can we make them aware of that, I guess is my question. And thank you for the answer ahead of time.
Yeah, well, just real quickly, I want to say that when these vouchers come out from the entity that's giving them out, the housing agent, they're just distributing a voucher. They have a very legal process they have to follow with HUD. They're not required to assist the person in looking for a place, but they could supply them with leads like that. I suspect that the list that they have may have come from Holy Cross. However, I also suspect that with COVID, because I'm finding this now, sometimes used to be you called and you got a person. Now you call and you might get a voicemail because nobody's in that office, and if you're not, and I'm not saying that they're getting that and not doing anything with it, but if you're not getting someone to engage with you and you're not sure how to communicate what you want, then you're going to get stuck. You know, you don't know what to say, or maybe you're borrowing somebody's phone to make the call and they're not there. So who do you tell them to call back to? You know, there's lots of things that can happen in that situation. I know that with the outreach team, when they go out, if they do find out one of our folks is struggling with something like that, they'll help them out. You know, they'll work with them to figure out a way to make those connections, or even help them, maybe make the calls for them. You know, we can do that because we know some of the landlords. But if you encounter that again, I would have them call my office, because at least they'll get somebody. We're here. Someone's going to answer the phone. It's not a recording. And they can talk, and I'll tell my office staff too. I have two ladies who are there to, you know, take those calls. If they get something like that and they're trying to get through to a landlord, figure out who they're trying to call, and let's see if we have a contact, or we can check it against whatever contacts we have. I hate to add another phone call when they don't have a lot of minutes, but at least we'll try to make it as fruitful as possible. And if they don't have minutes, they can just say, look, call me right back. This is my problem. Well, and then we'll call them, try to make that time efficient, you know. And you know, in a non-COVID world, they could come in here and use the phone. You know, if we had somebody who was really stuck, we could probably work that out, because it's not like there's a lot of people in the building now. But we'll figure it out. Just have them call my office, you know, and we'll do what we can to help them out.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. I mean, we always do. I think most places, if they're not completely swamped and going crazy, will be helpful. But sometimes you call at that moment, everybody's is stressed out and you don't get the best reception. And then that's all you need. If you're feeling low, you're not going to call again. You know, we have to be careful in our business not to turn people off because they can't afford to handle that emotionally. We've got to be careful. That's our job. And we don't always do it. We're not perfect, but I can tell you, I think I'm the oldest now of the homeless shelter providers. I'm like the senior person who they think, no, I don't know anything. I can tell you, the longer you live, the more you realize you don't know. Okay, but I do know people, and I know you can help. We can help each other. So.
Thank you, Susan. I'm learning that lesson about the older you get every day. So thank you for that.
Yeah, the less you know, and the more people think you know, and then you have to say, forget it. So,
well, I do want to thank you for sharing about a half hour with us this evening. It looks like that exhausts the list of questions from council at this time. And I know all of us know how to get a hold of you should we need to reach out offline. Sounds like Councilmember Dunbar and you are going to connect anyway. So go ahead and thank you for your time. We'll let you go for the evening. I will be in trouble if I skip over public comment on agenda items. So let's go back to public comment.
Okay, I just want to thank Councilmember Hussein, who's reached out to me a number of times, been very patient with some of the problems on the South Side. Thank you. And Carol Wood, Councilmember Wood, who's I've known many, many years, who's a good human being, sticking with all this craziness over the years. And thank you all for being our representatives. It makes a difference to know we have you, and at least we can talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for the kind words.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So the standard rule for public comment, you have 3 minutes this evening on agenda items, and that agenda item will include, for anyone who is listening, what we just discussed, because that is an agenda item. So if you'd like to speak, we have 3 minutes, and per usual with public comment, the window for public comment will close at the conclusion of the first person's 3 minutes. So Loretta Stanaway, you are up. You have 3 minutes, and I think City TV's taking care of letting you speak. There you go.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
You are.
Okay. I wanted to ask a question that I don't know if got addressed before I got on the meeting or not. When you're dealing with the homeless, how do they handle situations where, for instance, a man and a woman are in a relationship and they don't feel they want to be separated, but the shelters won't allow them to live together in a shelter, or if there's children involved, then what? So moving on from that topic, 2 other quick things. I fully support the moving of Delisa Fountain into the neighborhood and citizen engagement position. And I just think it's really quite ironic. I understand the economics because of COVID, but I think it's just so ironic that we are talking about LEPFA moving golf subsidy money into the general fund when for so many years, all we ever heard was that golf couldn't make a profit and was sucking money out of the city right and left. And once the city let go of those restrictions on the golf management and it became profitable, which we all said it could be. Now we're here looking at this reverse psychology of putting money from one into the other, and it just kind of amuses me. Thank you.
Thank you, Loretta. I see no other hands going once, going twice. Sold. All right, let's move on to the first item, which is the setting the first meeting of the 2021 Elected Officers Compensation Commission. And I will call on the Vice President to move this, but we do not have a date in it. And I'm waiting to see why that is. So perhaps if someone from the administration wants to address that, or if we just pick a date. I know we do this every other year, but it's only my second time doing it. So we can hold it, but I know that they have to, once they meet, they have to conclude their work 45 days after. And Carol Wood, looks like you've got some knowledge to drop on us. So go for it, Councilmember Wood.
Thank you. Sherry, usually our office manager works with the members of the EOC to come up with a date for them to meet. It's not an administrative, it's nothing that the administration does. It's something that our staff, because our staff person actually is the staff person for the EOCC.
Okay.
So whether Sherry's reached out to them or not yet, or whether it's just a matter of approving the fact that they're going to have their first meeting. So, and I see she's unmuted, so probably Sherry can step in and give
Well,
us.
and to that point too, I know that Sherry's been communicating with folks, and Vice President Hussein asked the same question this afternoon. So I'll let Sherry address it here. Go ahead, Sherry.
What I can say is in the past, obviously they meet every 2 years. The first meeting in 2019 was in February. They have to have 15 sessions after that first meeting, and they usually target being done before the budget is adopted, just for that action. I can tell you that the first meeting they had in 2019 was February 6th. So we work with the clerk's office under the EOCC. The clerk's office, as you can see, initiated this referral, and they formally send the letter to the commission. So I would work with the city clerk's office and probably propose the same timeline of, we could go with February 9th again in 2021.
Well, let's go with February 9th then and see if there's pushback from the EOCC, we can redo this resolution, but we could at least get the work started then if the clerk's office. I know that Brian Jackson is covering for Mr. Swope this evening, but he's not on this meeting. So why don't we kick it out with February 9th if everyone's amenable to that. And then if that proves to be a problem, we can redo it on the 26th.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Vice President.
Sure. I would move the resolution. This is for the Elected Officers Compensation Commission, setting the first meeting for the 2021 session, and that would be for February 9th.
All right, there is a proper motion before us. Any further discussion from the committee? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Betts.
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. Motion passes. That'll be up this evening for final approval. We'll get that through Laserfiche for those of you who pay attention to those details. The next up is a resolution with budget authorization for LEPFA funds. And we do have Deputy Mayor Tate and Scott Keith on. So Nick, just give me a thumbs up if I should go right to Scott. All right. Scott, you're up, sir. If you'd like to explain what's in front of us so the council can discuss it.
Simply put, this just allows us, in case of emergency, to move funds from one property to the other. There will be a record of it. It will follow auditing principles, but that simply in a nutshell just gives that ability that if pinch comes to shove in this situation during COVID where the Lansing Center is tight 1 month, it can borrow money from another property, but it will have to pay it back. So it's not like it's a complete loan. It's just we're following procedure per the charter.
So this, I'm sorry, I see a bunch of hands, but I just want to clarify. It is a loan from one fund to the next?
Correct. It
Okay.
is just moving money from one account to the other off of what was allocated for the budget in the subsidy. And so in order to do that, we have to come before council.
Okay, thank you. First hand to go up was Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hey, Scott, I have a couple questions. The first one is, so are you anticipating a shortfall? I mean, are you anticipating a shortfall before budget July 1st? And then the other question is, what is the anticipated shortfall? And why are we doing it preemptively? Why couldn't you just come back for an amendment at the time when you would potentially need the money?
Well, I think both of those are a timing issue. So the first question, anticipation, certainly we're doing everything we can to not do it. But, let's say how long is this going to continue on? Do we have any events? I mean, we have people calling at the Lansing Center looking to host small activities, but once we tell them we can't serve food indoors, they're immediately saying, okay, no thanks, because they're not aware of what orders are in place. So, the longer this goes, do we anticipate? Sure, it could happen. Right now, we're running so that very thin. We will make it, at least to the third quarter. Through the third quarter, and that's our plan. And then the fourth quarter will be tight as well. So we're not anticipating having to do that, but we want to have that flexibility if we need to do that. And so that has to do with what you were asking about, why couldn't we come back? It may be a short turnaround. It could be a week. It could be a quick, let's say we have a high utility bill for some unusual reason or some other major cost comes up. We want to be prepared that we could, turn around that quickly.
One more question. Thank you, Scott. One more question. I'm sorry. It just left too. I apologize. I had one more question about that. I just totally lost my mind. I'm sorry. That's an old age
If it
thing.
comes back, Councilmember Spitzley, please throw your hand up. We'll come back to you. Councilmember Wood is next, and then Councilmember Betts.
Thank you, President Spatafor. Scott, when you developed your budget that was approved, were you fully funded for the budget that you presented to the city?
There was a change after, and I think we've all talked about that. There was a slight modification after, so there was both in the capital project and for the stadium and for the Lansing Center. So there were some modifications.
Do you happen to know offhand what that amount was?
Not right offhand. I'd have to go back and look at the records.
Is that something you could get us the information on?
Yeah, yes.
I understand the purpose and the need of this. My question would be, what is your borrowing power based on the fact that if you have to, utilize funds from the golf dollars, and this is to be paid back, what is your ability to borrow if that is something that has to happen in order to pay back the golf fund?
So two things are in the works already to kind of answer your question. We have applied for a state grant that Senator Hertel helped put together for funding from the TCF Center, so the formerly Cobo Center, has a surplus of funding from the state. And so the state is using that for a couple different purposes, and they set up a grant account through the Michigan Strategic Fund to help other convention centers in the state through the COVID crisis. We have applied for that. We may get up to $1 million. We asked for $1 million. That could make this all a moot point. We don't know when they're going to award this. That's one of the issues. We don't know if it's going to be next week or not till the end of May. They have a kind of a large window of when they're going to award this. And then the funds have to be spent by September so we can use it on some past items that we have spent money on. So as far as borrowing power, we don't currently borrow against anything. We don't own anything, so we don't have that ability to bond to borrow. We do have a good relationship with PNC Bank, and they have suggested that we could get a small business loan, but we've been trying to avoid that process as well. PPP loan funding is available for us. We are looking into that currently as well. So we'll start that process. I think the information just came out today. And I received several emails from PNC and some other lenders about the information for that. So we do have some capacity to go after PPP funding for LEPFA.
Okay. I just have a couple of other questions. Based on the budget that was passed, the anticipated revenues for golf, and whether you can answer that, Scott. I see Jake is on the line as well, whether he can answer it. What are those anticipated revenues? How are they coming in? Because we have, as Ms. Stanaway mentioned before, we have had to dip in order to make ourselves whole with the state, add money from the parks millage money to offset the shortfall and the golf revenues. So I'm not sure who's there that can answer that question, but I'd like someone to answer it.
Well, in last year's budget, we had only an operating contribution of $85,000. So it's dropped significantly since we've been involved. Our proposed budget for this year, we're still working through, but we don't anticipate a significant change, high or low. We're actually proposing the same budget currently.
But what are the revenues coming in?
Total revenues?
Yes.
I did not bring that file with me, but we had, we were up in golf this year. I will tell you, it was a highly unusual year. So our golf revenues were up about 20%, 24%, I believe. And that was mostly due to the fact that during COVID, people couldn't do anything else. But a lot of our other revenues at the golf course were flat or down. So it was a really unusual year. I don't anticipate that happening this coming year, but it's hard to say where we're going to be in June and July. I would suggest it's not sustainable to be up 24% year over year. However, if we have good weather and things are still restricted, people will see golf as a great avenue to, utilize their time when they have downtime to get out and do something versus going to the movies or going to the bars because they can't go there.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tate, is Jake available to answer the questions on whether there's an anticipation of using park millage money to offset the cost in the parks department, in the golf fund?
Jake has just zoomed in, so give us a second here, Carol.
Okay.
Mr. Tate, did you want to answer that before Jake unmutes?
No.
Okay, very good. Jake, you're up, my friend.
Yes, and could you repeat that question? I was being zoomed in when you began it.
Okay. The question is, are we anticipating the use of park millage money to offset revenues for the golf fund this year?
this upcoming
Because we
week.
don't,
haven't,
we're not receiving enough to make,
I've not heard any additional requests for park millage money beyond the original budget ask. And so we do
Which
not
was-
see which was 85,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have, well, Councilmember Betts, your hand went down and up, so you're second, but I'll let you go next. Brandon, Councilmember Betts.
Thank you, President Spatafor. One question for you, Scott, and it's a pleasure to see you as always. I know that the state made some appropriations for entertainment venues. Are we getting any of that money, or is that out?
So I think you're referring to the Save Our Stages. We're in the process of reviewing it. So there's a couple complexities. Same thing, the federal government also had a Save Our Stages Act. The federal one does not allow you, if you apply for PPP loan, to also get Save Our Stages. It's a rule they won't allow you to double dip. I have an ask in about the same thing. If we receive TCF funding, are we going to still be eligible for Save Our Stages so that they don't appear double dipping? So we are asking some questions. They still haven't sent out the information on that application process yet, but yes, we are following that. I'm not sure. So there's a couple pieces on eligibility of it. They prefer that it be either a fixed seat or a brick and mortar venue. For example, like the Loft or someplace like that that's built for that purpose. I'm not sure if they're going to, say that the Lansing Center or the stadium are that purpose or not, or you have to be in a promotion. So there's a possibility that Center Park, which is a subsidiary of LEPFA, could apply for it as well. So we're investigating all the avenues. We're aware of the Save Our Stages, and we think it applies to us, but we're going to try.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Betts. The next up is Councilmember Garza, then we'll end with Councilmember Spitzley's remembered question.
All right, thank you, Council President Spatafor. Thanks for being here tonight, Scott. So are there any revenue coming in? Is there still revenue coming in from Groesbeck Golf Course in regards to the virtual golf simulator you guys have? And if so, are there any restrictions?
So the simulator is running. We actually start this week with what we call our Winter League. Runs for 12 weeks. So we do have 13 teams in that league. So we'll have some revenue come in. Plus we do lessons on that simulator, or you can just rent it. So we have a couple different options. The food and beverage is a restriction. You can't serve food indoors for consuming. So we actually set up a table outside, and people are going outside to have a drink or eat a hot dog. So we've worked around that. You must wear a mask, obviously, and while playing, and no one's really created an issue out of that. And we don't have more than 4 people at any one time in there, so that's not an issue either. We were restricting it down for a while the orders were a little tighter and only saying 2 people, unless it was 4 people from the same household. So we were trying to keep it as safe as possible per the MDHS orders. So it's still doing well. People are out there almost every day, and we're keeping busy with activity.
Great. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then finally, Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. President. So following up on Councilmember Wood's question, so how are you, absent all the other things you talked about, what was the strategy for paying back this transfer? And then what are the ramifications if you don't do this transfer?
See, I have to remember everything too and write it down.
That's right.
So, we're going to do everything possible not to transfer the money. We just want to have that ability that if something comes where one month is tighter than the next, particularly as some things may fall in one month versus not falling in the next, et cetera. So we will our auditors will require us to pay it back within a certain length of time, usually a 2-year window with our auditing firm is typically just, they don't want it to see it go beyond 2 years. So we'll have to pay it back in 2 years. We had a situation like this, I want to say like 4 years ago, where the city market needed funds, and we did transfer some money over from the Lansing Center, and then the city market eventually paid it back. So it has to be done within a certain time frame. Our strategy is not to do it at all. And if we have to do it, then to keep a record and then to pay it back as quickly as possible, whether it's over a 3-month period or a 1-month period. We prefer to pay it back quicker than later. So we're going to try not to do it, though.
And the ramifications?
Well, obviously, you know, if we're not paying it back, we either have to write off the funds, or you know, we'd have an auditing hit it against us. So,
I'm sorry, Scott. The ramifications of if you don't get the money.
oh, well, I mean, you know, there may be a time where we have to hold off, you know, paying a utility bill. Or let's say we have to take deeper cuts, you know, whether it's cutting some more salaries, releasing an employee. I mean, those are, we're down to bare bones as it is. So, you know, we just want the flexibility, and that's really what this is asking for. We don't intend to do it, but we want some flexibility that if we have to move some money over from something doing well to cover something it's not, you know, a lot of people aren't aware that our allocation of salaries is not directly across all properties equally, which it kind of isn't on purpose. And so, you know, we've actually reallocated some salaries more so now to try to make it more equitable so that we can continue on with all properties being self-sustaining.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Spitzley. Mr. Keith, are there other, I don't see any other questions. So Mr. Vice President, I would ask for a motion on this item.
Sure, I would move the resolution dealing with the budget authorization to allow for LEPFA to move funds appropriated in the fiscal year 2021 budget from the golf subsidy to the general fund subsidy as necessary to sustain, LEPFA operations during the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's a motion before us. Is there any further discussion on this? All right, seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar,
Space bar not working, yes.
Councilmember Hussein,
Yes.
Councilmember Betts,
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley,
No.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-1.
Very good. This will be up this evening on council. Thank you, Mr. Keith. I don't believe there's a need for a second presentation, but you might want to pay attention just in case.
We do.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank you very much.
Next item is the appointment of Director of Neighborhood and Citizen Engagement, waiving position requirements. I see Mr. Tate. I think you drew the short straw on this one. So you have to, if you could please give us just a brief synopsis of what we're looking at here.
Thank you, President Spatafor. So I think many of you have probably worked with Lisa in the past, and we're happy and honored that she thought to put in for this position. And there is one part of the job description which I believe is currently lacking, educationally speaking. But as far as Lisa's knowledge of the city and her ability to execute the job, flawlessly, frankly, we don't have any concerns about that. So we're asking the council to allow for this exception in order for Ms. Fountain to take her role as a director of neighborhoods, of DNC, I should say. And we're confident she's going to do a phenomenal job. I can say personally, in just working with her, her work ethic, her knowledge of the city, her commitment to the city is second to none. So we would ask that the council waive the educational requirement in order for Ms. Fountain to ascend to the director position.
All right. Mr. Tate, you got off lucky here. I don't see any hands. So Mr. Vice President, I would ask for a motion on the resolution, please.
Sure, sorry. I would move the resolution of a waiver of employment requirements. This is for the appointment of Delisa Fontaine as the Director of the Department of Neighborhoods and Citizen Engagement.
Motion is properly before us. Is there any further discussion other than I'd like to say I'm excited about Ms. Fountain's role in this role. Being put in this role, I think she'll do an excellent job. She's always impressed me when we've worked together on things. So I misspoke. Don't make me do that, Jeremy. Sherry, please call the roll.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar. Is Councilmember Dunbar frozen?
She is.
Okay.
It's cold out.
We'll come back. Councilmember Betts.
Yes.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
And Councilmember Dunbar, are you there? I think we've lost her, so motion carries 7-0.
There we go. And the next item on our agenda is the council rules change resolution. So Mr. Vice President, I'm gonna throw the gavel over to you and raise my hand.
All right, President Spatafor, you have the floor.
All right, folks. Well, as you know, you attached yourself to me for one more year as president. And in the conversations I've had with some folks and just kind of looking at city operations and the council flow over the last year with COVID as a reality, I was looking at ways to try and sort of streamline some of our processes and make sure that we were being as efficient as we could while still, taking some serious consideration to the council government or city government issues. So what I'm looking at is a rule change regarding committees to kind of eliminating two and combining a couple into a space that makes a little bit more sense. But first, let me go through that. Allowing committees to be up to 4 members, depending on the interest of members to be serving on committees and the business that might take place. And then clarifying that in a 4-member committee, if 2 people show up, you can still run business for that, just in case there's illness and that kind of stuff. We do have some considerations given the pandemic and virtual challenges that have been presented to some extent, but still allows for that business to go forward. And carrying forward our practice of the last few cycles, where if we've had a tie in a committee, rather than that issue dying, it goes to the committee of the whole for the full council to consider it. So that's the first 2 changes. And then the second one leaves most committees the same, except it eliminates the General Services Committee and folds that into what has combining the Public Service and General Services Committee into a City Operations Committee, which will do all of those things that, all the appeals will go through this committee versus some go to public service, some go to general services, those kinds of things. The licensing, all those things will all go into this City Operations Committee. And then one that may present some folks with some pause, but I think it's probably the best move forward, is eliminating the Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Over the last 3 years that I've been here and speaking with those that have been here a little longer, IGR has had fits and starts of getting business done. So, and when we do bring other organizations, other governmental entities to this table, it's generally with the committee of the whole anyway. So it didn't seem necessary to have that. And looking at it, if we do it this route, it really gives us an opportunity for members to serve on fewer committees without having to stretch themselves thin. Because I noticed that some people had as many as 150 meetings last year. So this would help sort of balance that out and also give folks an ability to serve on a committee that does a little bit more work as an organization. So those are my recommendations. As chair, I've talked it over with our vice president, and we're both, I won't speak for you, Mr. Vice President, but I think we're both in agreement that this is a good way to go forward and start this conversation about are these the right committees and the right way to do city business. So with that, I will move the resolution and then stop talking.
So, yeah, and so if I could, before entertaining discussion, just simply say, because I was part of that conversation, I might push back just a little bit on something that President Spatafor said. I actually got some communication from some of my constituents. I push some, semi-regular emails to my constituents, particularly through the pandemic, in order to ensure that, they know what's going on within the city and they have access to, really important information. I got a couple of emails over the weekend and actually a call. And I think that there was this perception, you look back at 2012, and obviously we had a charter amendment that reduced the amount of city council meetings from 52 to 26. And then in conjunction with this, I think ostensibly, it may seem that, what we're trying to do is actually reduce the workload of the council. I would actually argue that what we're doing is actually the absolute opposite. If you look at, over maybe the past 5 years, I've been on council for 5 years, and the IGR committee has failed to even meet one time in 3 calendar years. And so what we've had is some council members, as an example, that get placed on the IGR committee and maybe, another committee that doesn't meet a ton. And then we have some that maybe have 2 to 3, committee responsibilities that do meet quite often. And so you have anywhere from, somebody having, such as Councilwoman Wood a couple of years ago, 158 council commitments. And then you have some folks that have been as low as, high 60s and low 70s. I think what this does, particularly by combining that general service and that public service committee into a city operations committee, and then also giving us the opportunity to increase when necessary in order to give people a broad experience really across committees, in order to create, or I should say the ability to increase the number on those committees from 3 to 4. I think actually what you're going to have is city council members across the board that are actually sitting on much more active committees and are much more actively engaged in the city's business. So I think what you'll see is maybe Councilwoman Wood and a couple other, maybe those commitments come down just a little bit, but then I think you're going to see everybody else's committee responsibilities actually increase a little bit, which I think is, I think it's important. I really do. So that being said, is there discussion now? My understanding is that, per our council rules, this actually has to sit on the agenda. So I think we would vote it out of committee of the whole. And how does that work?
Is it Carol? I'm confused. Do we vote it out of cow now and it sits on the floor for a week or 2 meetings?
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what happens. You have to have the motion out there. It's introduced tonight, and then you are not able to take it up for a vote until the next council meeting.
At
Okay,
council,
so-
but not here.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, so we will entertain in a moment a vote out of committee of the whole. That being said, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Let's see, Mrs. Boak, sorry, would you please take the roll?
Councilmember Hussein,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley,
Yes.
Councilmember Betts,
Yes.
Member Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar,
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate that. And per rules, we will talk about this tonight at council, but we will not vote on it till the 26th, 25th, somewhere around
25th.
there. So the next item, Mr. Vice President, if you could, we have a closed session.
Sure, I would move that we recess into closed session for strategy and negotiation session, connected with the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements requested by the city. And again, this is pursuant to MCL 15.268.
Thank you. That is a proper motion. And I will just let folks know we are coming back because these resolutions are up for action. So don't leave if you, don't adjourn until 7. So we have that, and the link is in your calendar invite. If you're having trouble with it, reach out to Sherry, please. Then we need a roll call vote on this, please.
Councilmember Hussein,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley,
Yes.
Councilmember Betts,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
No.
Councilmember Dunbar,
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-1 to go into closed session at 6:40 p.m.
All right. We will see you all in the other meeting, and then everyone here will be back shortly after this. So leave this one and then click on the link, and you all know the drill by now, I think. I don't know why that's happening. Let me, is it causing an echo?
No.
Now you're just one person, so it's okay.
Okay. Equilibrium has been restored. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, 6 members. 7.
I was able to let Councilmember Dunbar know
Okay.
that we were out of closed session, so she should be coming back into this one, I hope.
All righty.
Has President Spatafor decided to be invisible?
So I have an issue. I have a new computer that Zoom hasn't quite caught up with yet. So my camera takes a minute to turn on. So I apologize, especially when I get into a meeting. So I'm here. Let's go ahead and I see Councilmember Dunbar is here. So Mr. Vice President, I would entertain a motion to pass the resolutions.
Sure, I would, and just very quickly, obviously in closed session, we just discussed this, but the subject collective bargaining agreement, is basically an extension of the current contract. So there's no change to the body of the contract. In other words, we'd simply be extending the contract by 11 months. So there's no increase in wages, no change in benefits with either bargaining group. So with that said, I would move the collective bargaining agreement ratification of Teamsters Local 243 supervisory unit contract.
Thank you. There's a proper motion. Is there anybody wishing to make remarks? Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. You know, if I hope that if we are going to be extending the contract without any raises, I hope that the administration also chooses not to take any raises this year. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? I see none. All right, please call the roll, Sherry.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein,
Yes.
Councilmember Betts,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar,
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley,
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you very much. The next item is the clerical resolution, Mr. Vice President.
Sure, I would move the resolution. This pertains to collective bargaining agreement in ratification of Teamsters Local 243 Clerical Technical Professional Unit contract.
All right, thank you. The proper motion is before us. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Betts,
Yes.
Councilmember Garza,
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dunbar,
Yes.
Councilmember Spitzley,
Yes.
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein,
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you very much. With no further business for the committee at 6:51, we are adjourned. I'll see you all back here in 9 minutes.